Hey, 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 what's up, my mellows? Welcome back to Tingle Lingo ASMR. I was in the mood to bake some cookies. It's very therapeutic, and I figured I might as well record it and then do a voiceover, which I'm doing now, and have story time. So let's go. I like the sound of these disposable gloves, but they do remind me of being in a doctor's office. But these are food safe gloves. So I'm going to bake a recipe that I saw online. It was on the YouTube channel Preppy Kitchen. He has very reliable recipes, good recipes. These are peanut butter chocolate chip cookies. And for some of the ingredients, I'm going to use the scale versus a measuring cup to measure them because it's a little more accurate as long as my scale is behaving. So I'm just going to tear the scale or zero out the scale, and I'm going to start by measuring my dry ingredients. Hopefully I can soothe you to sleep, or at the very least relax you, and maybe you'll experience a few tingles here and there. I'm trying to get this measurement to 270 grams of flour exactly. But many years ago, I was laid off from one of my jobs. I had been there for about 5 years and got laid off. Shockingly, I didn't expect to get laid off, but I did. And during that time, while I was on unemployment, I was also, of course, looking for a job. And I had a lot of time on my hands also, and I started becoming interested in the Food Network. So I was watching a lot of Food Network television shows. I mean, a lot. And I really became interested in the whole process of cooking. I mean, I knew how to cook, but I was interested more in the techniques and all the different ways of, cooking food outside of what I had learned from my parents growing up, and then what I was already doing for myself and my son. So I would like to say, I do say that I manifested an opportunity, because as I was looking for jobs, I ran across a culinary program. And turns out it was a free culinary program if you qualified. And I happened to qualify. So I think it was either a 6-week or a 9-week program. I can't remember. But I went for the interview and qualified to start the program, which was, I believe, maybe like a few weeks after I went to interview. And the training was in a commercial grade kitchen. So you learn everything from food prep to doing the dishes, to keeping the kitchen clean, food sanitation, workstation station sanitation, oh, that's a tongue twister, and cooking, and all the different techniques of cooking, and the mother sauces, and the tools in the kitchen, just everything. It was very fascinating, and at no point was I bored or discouraged or second guessing starting the program. I was super enthusiastic, especially coming from most of my jobs at that time having been in an office, like, customer service admin type jobs. And the job that I had just been let go from, I was a receptionist. And I really enjoyed that job. That was really fun to me. Towards the end, I think the reason I might have been let go is, well, everybody was being let go. This was during the era of the housing crash and all that craziness. So they were trying to cross train me on something else. And I only wanted to do what I was doing, which was being a receptionist and being the face of the company at the front desk. And I really enjoyed that job. But they started to cross train me on something else I had no interest in. And when the guy was trying to cross train me, I guess my attitude came out because I was extremely disinterested. So I think that might have been the reason for my downfall, or what pushed them quicker to let me go. Because had I been, happy-go-lucky and never complained about that part of the training, that new training I was receiving, maybe they would have found another spot for me. But who knows? Either way, it happened and played out the way it was supposed to happen. No big deal. Because, as I said, I found the culinary program. I started that and just worked my way through the classes, studying. And I would go to the grocery store and buy like potatoes and carrots and onions just to practice my knife skills. So all of that was really fun. I was very motivated. I finished the program and I was offered a job in one of the hotels that I did my externship, but I wasn't interested in working there. Just the energy I was kind of over it and ready to get out of that building. I think it was the building because it was kind of like an older, creepy type of hotel, but it was fun for the time that I was there. So once I left there, I still had contacts and resources. So once you finish the program, I think from what I remember, they brought in different people that were in the culinary industry. And two of the people that I met, one was a private chef for someone in the entertainment business. And the other one, she was a chef. She basically cooked meals and delivered them she had different clients. So I ended up working for both of them. So basically what I was doing after I finished the culinary program, I was piecing together work. So for the lady that worked she was a private chef for the person in the entertainment industry, she hired me as her assistant to work in this person's home with her. So basically, I was washing dishes. I mean, I did more than washing dishes, but I would work for her when they had an event at the person's home. So I would keep the kitchen clean. As she cooked and moved along, I would help her prep. But basically, yeah, I was just keeping everything organized and clean and helped her with her process of the cooking, which I truly enjoyed. And she was so cool and had a great personality, funny. Everyone in the house was cool. I really loved that job, but she didn't have enough work to keep me on full time. So with the other chef that I worked for, same thing. I would work in her kitchen and keep the kitchen clean, and she would give me recipes to do, and then we would pack it all up, and then she would deliver it later. So those two jobs were fun, but again, it wasn't enough to pay my bills. I was piecing together work and ended up working on the Cupcake Wars. Just a few episodes, again, washing dishes, but got to take home free baking ingredients. Around that time, I had my high school reunion, and we all had to take something. It was like a summertime reunion. It was out at a park, and I ended up taking cookies. Like, I ended up baking a lot of cookies and taking them to the reunion and packaged them up in boxes and stuff. And people were asking me, "Do you sell these?" And one of my good friends from high school, she was like, yeah, she sells them. I think she jumped in and said that I do, or she encouraged me to start selling them at the reunion. Not to sell them that day at the reunion, but she was encouraging me to start baking and selling them. And that's how I started on my process to trying to come up with a name for the cookie business and baking out of my home, which I believe, I think from what I looked into back then, the cottage law applied in California and it was legal to do that. I know it's legal now, but it's a certain way you have to set it up and all that. But back then I just started baking. I was looking through recipe books for cookies and, trying to make them my own. And I did end up with one of my favorite signature cookies. Now, I was not doing anything on a level to where I profited enough to pay my bills. But while I had those free ingredients from the show, everything I earned was basically profit because to an extent, because I did have to start buying packaging and all that stuff. But the point of all that was I was so happy about life and what I was doing to try and earn income. It just created a different type of life energy versus going to a 9-to-5 job where you're so robotic, you have to be on someone else's schedule. Now, again, just going to show up when you work for someone else, showing up for that person or that company, doing what you got to do, clocking out, going home, getting your paycheck every week. That is, I guess, in itself is a relief because you just do that. You don't have any stress of anything else. Do what you're supposed to do, get your money, and repeat. But when you're trying to earn money from doing your own thing, as a lot of people know, and because content creators are amazing in what they do, that's basically what I was doing back then. And as I'm sure a lot of people know, it is a struggle trying to figure out how to do everything. So I'm just rambling a little bit, but in trying to do everything, coming up with a name, going to Staples, getting certain office supplies, going to bakeries, trying to figure out like what type of packaging I wanted to use. All of that stuff I thoroughly enjoyed. There was no part of the cookie business in quotes, that I was doing that I disliked. And I remember there was a music teacher for a school that he was one of my neighbors, and he asked, would I be able to bake cookies for a fundraiser? And I was like, heck yeah. So he ended up getting all these orders from the school, and he obviously paid me. And then he was going to take the cookies to school and, pass them out to whoever bought them. My mistake there was I had about 9 different varieties of cookies when I should have only had like maybe 5 maximum. Okay, real quick. This is the part of the video where I realized I wasn't recording, or I had missed a part of recording. So the part where I put the eggs in and the vanilla, I'm realizing on here that my alarm went off on my phone and I stopped it but didn't start recording again. So this is that part of the video. You know what? I missed recording. My alarm went off on my phone and I missed recording. What was it? Breaking the eggs, which I love that sound. Breaking the eggs and putting them in this mixture. I also missed recording opening the box of the vanilla. I made a few few of these sounds, a few tapping sounds, and I'm still kicking myself for that. The eggs here, I broke, this is the microphone, I broke 2 of the eggs. Those were good sounds. Anyway, okay, back to where I was. Okay, voiceover is back. So remember I was talking about I made too many different variety of cookies, but I kind of overdid it. I handled it though. So for the whole weekend, I think it was morning until the next day, I set up my kitchen and baked 2, so maybe let me see, was it 24 cookies? My oven could only hold 24 cookies each round, so each, like, let's just say 15 minutes. And I went back to back to back to back. I set up a chair in the kitchen, and every time I would set my timer and do the new batch, I just remember falling asleep in the chair. The timer would wake me up. I would take those cookies out, put new cookies in, let those cookies cool down, and I just did that over and over and over again. And I packaged them up. They just looked so nice with like a homemade cookie label, and then I put the name of the cookie. Everything was like fun. It was a lot of work though. It was a lot of work. And come to find out, he did pick up the cookies, but he said like school was going to be out for a week and the kids wouldn't be able to pick up the cookies until a week later or something like that, which was no bueno, because I don't have preservatives in the cookies. They're fresh homemade cookies, which the quality declines rapidly after like the 3rd day at the most, So those cookies should have been eaten like within that same day or 2. So I don't know. I don't ever know what happened with that situation, but I have a feeling people, by the time they ate those cookies, they probably were like, "Ugh, these are gross," but whatever. So I think from that job, I made about, from what I remember, I think it was about $350, which to me was good. I was like, "Oh, I made $350 in a couple days." And again, the majority of that was profit. But I guess once I started seeing how much effort and time I needed to make the batter, the cookie dough, I should say, all the different cookie doughs, and bake them, my time per hour was very minimal. So it just didn't make sense for me to continue doing that, especially when I ran out of all the free ingredients that I received from working on the show, and then I had to start buying the ingredients. All of that was super fun. But let's go back to, in the meantime, remember, I'm still piecing together jobs, working for different culinary people and culinary locations. And I would pick up like sporadic jobs, random jobs. Some included washing dishes, some just meal prep. I also worked at a culinary kitchen, and I had to be there at like 5 in the morning. And we were making everything from donuts to lamb chops to chicken, and just working for different chefs. It was a very good experience. I also worked in a barbecue restaurant, but unfortunately, I was only there for a month, and they closed down. I was a little disappointed with that, but also relieved. That was a tough job because I was actually taking, I was one of the line cooks. So all of that stuff was pretty difficult. It's a high stress job working in a kitchen, and you're on your feet, but the stress is a little different than the stress of the job that I do now. So back to the bakery. I'm in the bakery and I'm like, oh, I can't do this. I need a full-time job. And I happened to be working alongside a lady. This was her, I guess her additional gig of income. She was a job recruiter. So I told her I was looking for a job. And she was like, well, what do you have experience in? I said, well, culinary. But prior to culinary, I was doing, admin type work. So she helped me put my resume together. And I ended up getting a job through the temp agency that she was a recruiter for. And 14 years later, I am still at that same job that I got back then. So it was a very interesting journey. I think I did the culinary thing for 3 years, and I just could not piece together the income to make enough money to support, myself and my son. In thinking back, maybe I could have made it work if I would have been more of a go-getter, I mean, if my goal was to become an executive chef at the hotel that I interned with, I definitely could have done it. I could have worked my way up. Or at least, I was very interested in working in the bakery section of the hotel. So I could have done that. I could have been a private chef for someone in the entertainment industry as well, or someone who had, like buku bucks to pay good money for an in-home private chef. There were so many branches in the culinary industry. And I did have a couple different ideas as far as, I made business cards for my cookie business. I made business cards for another culinary idea I had, just helping people set up their kitchens, keep it organized, and things like that. So I feel like my mind has the creative elements that are needed, but I'm just not one of those go-getters, like just all in, gung-ho, go-getter type people. I have ambition. I do have ambition, and have always had ambition to a point. But I feel like if I have to work too hard and I'm uncomfortable and the struggle is just too much and the intensity is in a different direction, then, or if it's too much outside of my comfort zone as far as having to work my butt off, I am not ashamed to say no. I'm not that type of hard worker when it comes to that. So that's why I admire so many content creators, because they are really doing their thing. And I'm impressed. I'm so impressed with the younger generation for sure, because they have this outlet to become who they want to become on their own terms. So when given the choice for me now of having my own business, let's say, or continuing to do the 9-to-5 thing, currently, as soul-sucking as a 9-to-5 can be, I feel like when it's about income, which we all, or most of us, get caught up in that cycle of income because we have to pay the bills and we have to make the money to pay the bills that we create, and over again, it's easier, from what I see or from what I've experienced, to just show up at the 9-to-5, make the money, and go home. And then if you want excitement or creativity outside of work, you can just do things after work or on your days off. And I know there are plenty of people who would say the opposite, but it is hard. For the little effort that I gave it when I was trying to do the cookie thing, that was a lot of work. A lot of work for, a lot of my time was given, more than 40 hours a week, and the payback was not much. So if I would have, I guess, estimated it, depending on what I was doing, my hourly rate back then, which was like, I don't know, 15 years ago, was like not even $20 an hour. It depends. But when I worked for those two chefs, they paid me pretty well for what I did. Now, had I been working for them full time, that would have been cool. And I could have continued to learn and gain the experience and the confidence. And then I would have gone out to likely get a job in someone's home, or meal prepping, or it's so many things you can do in the culinary industry. And it was starting to become glamorized back then by the Food Network and all those shows. And now it's just a whole different thing. So power to the people that are out there doing their thing. All the content creators, the people who aren't even doing it for content. Just to be able to use your own creativity and imagination and to make possibly an unlimited amount of income, I think is extremely fortunate. Look at these two big old cookies I'm about to put in the oven. But the cookie business, or experience I should say, was very fun. I did end up buying a second refrigerator just for everything cookie related, because since I was selling the cookies, I was like, I have to have it. A little water, a little H2O. I have to have everything in order and clean and separate from, our home refrigerator. Here is the Preppy Kitchen website, and I have my iPad open while I'm baking the cookies just to refer to everything. But check out his page on YouTube. He does know his stuff.
Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making some delicious peanut butter chocolate chip cookies.
But as I am sharing this story with you guys and knowing, my experiences to date as far as income and what brings joy to your world, or what just destroys the joy or actually puts it on the back burner because we're so conditioned to be a part of the system, which has its pros and cons, obviously, because it takes a lot of diversity and different personalities and different interests and motivations to make the world go round. So, I could say at some point in my younger years, I didn't have any complaints about working a 9 to 5, because that's just something that everybody did, and I didn't really question it. These over there, as you can see, I had a couple, and we're gonna put these bad boys over here. My honey said he wanted some big cookies, so those are the big cookies. And these are the regular size cookies. So once they all cool off, I will figure out where the heck to store them. But in the meantime, and in between time, this one is looking a little broken. These are peanut butter chocolate chip. But the older we get, and noticing how much time might affect our mobility or the way we think, the more we age and experience life and different things, or the more we age and continue to do the same monotonous routine day in and day out, it brings a different type of awareness. And And if you're just doing a regular 9 to 5 like I do, your time outside of work is very limited. And, you can tend to get bitter at the amount of time and just how we prioritize our jobs. So if you work outside of home or working from home, which I think is fantastic, depending on which scenario fits, outside of the home, you spend time getting ready for work, you spend time sitting in traffic to go to work, and then you're at work, and then you spend time leaving work to sit in more traffic and come home and unwind. It definitely takes a toll after, years of doing it, decades of doing it for some people. It definitely takes a toll. And you just start looking at your priorities a little differently. And it varies for all of us. So if it works for people, go for it. But if it's not, we all have choices. We might not always like our choices, but we all have options to an extent and choices to make. I'm not here to try to give life advice. I'm just talking and rambling on my lovely ASMR video. And that just brings a smile to my face because I love recording these videos. And I'm not going to prioritize my time to try to stress about it, and not try to stress, but stress about it to try to earn income off of YouTube. But I definitely am going to continue recording because, during my off time where I'm not working, this is definitely fun for me. This is a huge, relaxing, creative outlet, which I enjoy. It is fun. So go out or stay in and find your fun. Thank you for watching Tingle Lingo ASMR, and I will see you on the next video.